David, you've caught us in the middle of a
Valentine's extravaganza.
Well, right.
Only word for it.
That's right. Now
You're joining mid show.
I think I've crapped on it a little because of my hatred for Galentine's Day.
Yeah,
I
don't know why you hate it. It really shouldn't be a part of your vernacular at all. It's not for you.
I know it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's part of it.
I don't like these newfangled things. Yes, and that's part of it.
Because you can't be part of it.
I can't be part of it.
It's also odd because it's a day late.
Well, I know that. I had it on the grid
Today
yesterday.
should be a day of love, and instead you're focusing on women last night who had wine and frittatas.
That's right. That's right. I don't like that. That's a made-up thing, and I go full. I had it on the grid yesterday, but that whole Donald Trump Jr. thing threw me. threw me. So couldn't do it.
God almighty.
We didn't get to that. Meanwhile, today, because it's Valentine's Day, and Biggie concludes his reviews of rom-coms, I had read a while back the lies that rom-coms have taught us, and I wanted to see if Biggie had recognized these. One of them was that foreplay is completely unnecessary. And movies in general teach you that, and that orgasms for women happen quickly.
Optional.
And they're optional. That's right. They don't always occur. And
no, you're right. In the movies, they're always guaranteed.
They always
You're
are.
right,
They're always
right.
guaranteed. That's what they teach you.
But that's for the female, right? I mean, the fact that you don't have to. The movie's for females, yeah. Rom-coms for the most part, and who they're made for.
Wait a minute.
Someone-
Now.
That was me.
Hold it.
Sounds like someone needs to tune into Hearts and Farts.
That's our new podcast.
Guys who are proudly rom-com lovers.
Biggie and I are we're going to do that.
But you're not the demographic. You just stumble onto it.
Wait a minute now.
See, that's old thinking.
That's right.
Is that horse and buggy thinking?
Yes.
We love sports and romantic comedies.
Yes. We're
Hence Jerry Maguire.
what we're here to say. Yes.
It's okay to cry at Jerry Maguire.
What we're here to say is watch football on Sundays. Watch put candles around a bubble bath and watch a rom-com on Saturday night. It's fine to do that.
Right, but the fact that there's no foreplay in there before they just fall into bed and go at it, I think that's more of a female's point of view, don't you? It's not the foreplay part. They're not going to show the beach. They're going to fall into love with each other, holding each other. That's what the females want.
Oh, you're saying
they don't care about the foreplay like you do.
They don't put it in
I do.
there.
I don't know about that, Dave.
Oh, I think so. But then it turns into porn, which I'm all for.
Oh, you're okay. You're saying in the movie. I think it's a matter of
It's more romantic.
make it sweeter and it also doesn't take as much time. You know, you can't show all that. You know,
it's too dirty.
Right.
It's good.
But it's just what you see.
It's dirty.
They're always doing these
But
things.
if we buy your argument, Dave, that these are made for for women, they're the ones who need to be prepared. You know, women sometimes need to take longer to get in the mood.
Oh, no doubt.
Well, yeah,
No
and they know
doubt.
that, but that's more mechanical, and I think they want the romantic part, which is the falling into bed in each other's arms.
Right, in the rom-com itself.
I think.
And you say it's made for women. But
I think that's who it's geared towards, don't you? Most of them, and then you stumble upon them.
But don't you think women, if they look at them, do you think women ever say, that's just not at all how it really is? You know, that's.
I don't think
people think about
Well, I
it.
don't
you're
think
watching a
anybody
movie. You're
does.
watching.
Yeah,
a movie.
you don't think
I
about
don't think
that.
people compare it to real life.
I don't either.
No.
Bill, you're talking about these rom-coms and women. Go ahead.
Hey, guys, the old saying is, when a girl orgasms,
When?
who cares?
Oh, wait a minute now. Hold
Jesus,
it.
on Valentine's Day.
We're not going to say
I
that.
can't believe you
We
let
can't-
that
we let
on
that
this air.
we apologize for
He
that.
told me he had a factoid.
That is a disgusting act.
And I cannot believe we had it on our air. We
He
apologize.
said, I have a great Valentine's Day factoid.
Let me tell you, if this was Hearts and Farts, we'd edit that right out. I'm not putting that on there.
That's right. Get the
We're
call.
not
Get the
putting
call
that
for
on
the
there.
phone number and call them back.
Here's the other lie that movies, rom-coms teach us. Your first time will be magical, romantic, and sweet, and you'll love it.
Yeah. No.
No, doesn't always
There
happen.
has been sort of a change in that, because there used to be the deflowering movies were all the rage.
I watched them. Oh, my God.
It shaped your life.
I watched so many deflowering movies in the 80s.
And you were pre-flowered.
Oh, yeah. I was
You're unflowered.
Oh, I was as flowered as I could be.
You were flowered.
I was flower.
You're blooming.
But I mean, think about that scene in what's the name? What's her name in Fast Times in the baseball dugout.
Oh, my God.
It's brilliantly shot because
Yes.
it's her first time, And all in her mind, she's built it up to this incredible event.
Yeah.
And it's this old dude who sells stereos. God, and she's just staring at the baseball dugout.
That is a very in fact, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Now this is an old movie now, but if you've seen it,
but it kind of knocks the romantic notions out
big time.
Two sex scenes in that and neither are good. And she's in both. She's with
You're
Damone.
right.
She's in Damone later in the pool house.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible scene. And you're right. That completely changed everything.
And that might be because it was written by a woman, right? That Amy Heckerling, did she write that?
Yeah, she did. She wrote. Now Cameron Crowe wrote the screenplay.
Correct.
But she wrote the book. And that right, Amy Heckerling, or did she direct?
I think she wrote the script. I think he wrote the book.
Okay. Whatever the case, yeah, because that guy, now this girl is 15 in the movie and talks about how she's never had sex. And then she meets a stereo salesman who's 26, which is really now.
And of course, she's built it all up in her mind thanks to her
friend,
Phoebe Cates.
Yeah, who tells her how great it is and teaches her how to do some things.
But we don't think Phoebe, at the end, Phoebe is kind of exposed too, right?
Yeah, she's not. She's lying.
She just talks
lying.
She talks a good game. But those girls are playing 16 and 15 years old. And when we were watching, now I was also 16 years old watching it. But when we were, like the Phoebe Cates getting out of the pool, oh my God, she's 16 years old. Now that you think about it, it's like, oh man, that's really rough. You're right.
You didn't think of it in those terms
Not
for
at
some
all.
reason back then.
Not at all.
And I thought maybe because we were the same age. I don't know.
But yeah, you're right. But even later, when I would watch it I'm ashamed to admit it. When I'm
there's 25, 30-year-old men watching it on VHS back then.
But that was the exception.
Of course.
But how they treat the first time. Look at Risky Business. Completely different. Completely different experience.
Risky Business. Tom Cruise first time is with a prostitute, Rebecca De Mornay, who's gorgeous.
Yeah,
and
but it changed his life forever.
It's incredible.
It's better than perfect.
They do it twice. Once is perfect. The second time's on a train's even better. And you're right.
One with leaves all over the kitchen.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That door really needs a better hinge.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That's sorry. That's wrong.
I know it's supposed to be a moment, but I thought to myself, that door is bad, and that's going to be a lot to clean up.
No kidding. No kidding. Who's cleaning that up?
They didn't have leaf blowers then.
No, and he's trying to get the house right for when his parents come home. He's 16 years old. He's 16, and you're like, oh yeah. When I was watching that, I was like, oh yeah,
sure,
this is great.
And then there was we didn't even know the term MILF back then. There was one of Kelly's favorite movies, My Tutor.
Oh, I love My Tutor. My Tutor,
a kid
so
and
good,
and an older teacher.
Yeah,
young boy.
Yeah, she's probably 25.
Older female.
He's 17.
25 to 30. Yeah.
Casey, you're talking about sex in movies and what the lies rom-coms teach us. Go ahead.
Yeah, you were talking about that the awkward deflowering and brought up Fast Times. I think one of the more iconic recent ones would probably be American Pie.
Yes.
That was probably like during my growing up, that was like this is awkward, and everybody kind of ran with that for a time where the deflowerings were more awkward than they were sentimental.
Good point.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. See, now
that was kind of a game-changing movie.
And 100% right. Thank you, Casey. See, I think in our generation, when movies were like Fast Times or more likely like Risky Business or
Porky's.
Yeah.
Oh.
You think you've got to be perfect the first time. You think I've got to do it just like this, and I pretend that it's not your first time and really like you're supposed to satisfy the woman. But now I think people are like, it's let's do it like it really is, where it's awkward and help me. I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is more
guys
natural.
were guys back then, and you didn't have to play. Listen, you didn't have to be. It's true to what it was. The last American version, this guy wanted to have sex.
Of course.
That's all it was. For guys wanted
too.
sex and girls wanted romance, and they were never on the same page.
Yes. And then, just like, what's the 40-year-old version? I pretended I was not a virgin when I was 17, even though I was. I was trying to pretend, Like my friend said, how far have you been? I was like, oh, all the way.
And back.
Basically, I did that scene when I was 17 years old. I was like, oh, all the way.
Where haven't I been?
Yeah.
That's good. Turn it back with a question.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's a great
I
way to
should have
deflect.
done that. We were sitting on the baseball field getting ready to start practice. He's like, how far have you been? I was like, man.
Brother, don't get me started.
A thing.
I don't want to brag.
Nothing.
Yeah, at least you didn't bag of sand it.
When I watched that scene, it's like, oh my God, this is exactly like the
what I
conversation
could
I
have
had
said.
with my friend. I could have said
I'd get into it, but I'm pitching.
Exactly. Rom-com lies. As soon as the sex is over, you will wrap a bed sheet around yourself and it will be hot.
Yes.
That
Instant modesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, after you've been knocking boots all night.
Right.
Yeah, and then you have to wrap up before you leave the room.
That's right.
Doesn't happen that way in real life, but in
The sheet comes off easily.
yeah.
It's never tucked in.
And
Tuck it in.
more and more people are clothed when they leave the bed. Not fully clothed, but shirts and shorts.
Absolutely right.
They're clothed when they get out of bed.
Yes,
the day after.
You see that.
The time after.
You see that a lot, and
in some movies, they look good. The ladies still have their makeup on,
Yes.
where they wake up and they're not disheveled.
Yes.
They look great.
well, I watched Sex in the City. Those ladies never, two of them at least, never showed their breasts. They kept the bras on
bra sex
during sex, which is not true. Women don't do that.
First thing to go, brother.
But what's her name? Sarah Jessica Parker, and
It was in her contract, right?
is in her contract, and probably one up the woman who played Charlotte, Kristen Davis, because she never takes it off. And now the other two, they take it off. I guess they didn't mind, but those two, they did.
Those are the two everybody wanted to see too.
Always in their bras. You always say that, Dave. I stick up for Miranda.
Gentlemen.
Okay.
Podcast.
I take this to the podcast world.
Sounds like we found your first guest.
You promised me potatoes.
Well, Dave,
Well, that's on you.
Dave doing his podcast.
Yeah, but it's a guest spot.
Inside the Skin is Dave's podcast, all about potatoes.
Which would you rather listen to, gun to head? Dave talk about potatoes, or Biggie and Kelly talk about? She's just not that into you.
Poll question: Which podcast has more legs? Inside the Skin, Dave's expose of the potato, or Hearts and Farts, our reviews of rom-coms every week.
Push.
Who's still on the air in 5 years?
Boy, the numbers will be exploding, I'm sure, on both of those. Lies that rom-coms teach us: sex in cars, easy and hot. Not easy.
Lies.
And not hot. I mean, a lot of people have done it, of course, obviously. But
but not easy. And yeah, it's hot.
Well, now cars were different in the olden days.
Well, you're right. So
They were bigger.
And they had
Bench seats.
bench seats. So you could do it on the bench
A
seat.
bucket seat never worked.
No.
And cars were, sedans were big. Station wagons were big.
Although people have called us. They're going 70 miles an hour or 55 miles an hour with a woman in their lap.
It's true.
It does happen.
That's true.
Julie, you're talking about what the lies rom-coms have taught us. Go ahead.
Okay, one of the first ones that I realized, unfortunately, is that morning kiss. No way. Stinky breath.
Brush your teeth. Brush the
Gargle.
teeth.
Brush your teeth.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's so romantic in the movies. They just roll over and kiss each other.
Good morning.
But really,
Dragon breath.
that's nasty. You're right. It's a good point, Julie. Thank you. The last is if a woman meets a British guy in a bar, she will have sex with him. That will happen by the end of the movie. That's good. Accent does go a long way, at least in those movies.
Yeah, after a couple pints.
Yeah, and she's going home with him. I think they, what's that movie I love so much? Taken, which is not a rom-com. She meets a guy, I don't know if he's British, but she meets him like right off the plane. Remember that when she gets to Europe?
The French guy.
He's the French
He's
guy.
French. He's
yeah.
French.
But he's a handsome French guy.
Yes, and he's the one laying the
Leading them
groundwork.
into human trafficking.
God, that's not a rom-com.
No, it's not.
That's more farts than hearts for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, if you had to put that in a column.
yeah, we. That's for sure.